So last month in Australia, the all-time record flooding, just absolutely horrendous, and some of you have seen some of the news coverage of this event, but this was a YouTube taking out this guy's apartment. He had parked his car in the parking lot of his apartment building. I won't show you the whole thing, but every single one of those cars gets completely washed away. And they are still trying to recover from this. It covers such a broad area they had never experienced anything like it. If you're looking for irony, Munich Re said, this was back in October, the first 9 months had more of these events than since their records had been kept. I was in Brazil last month, immediately after this event there, and it was, and former President Lula spoke out and said, this is global warming, we've got to do something about it. It was quite a scene. This is a distinguished and widely respected professor emeritus, and more scientists are abandoning the statistically caveated language and just saying, hey, look, folks, we've got to do something about this. We have to address the way we think about this. This is a challenge to the existence of our civilization as we know it. And the things we love, like the forests, are at risk. And there are things that can be done to minimize the damage, but in order to solve the problem, we have to address the root cause. We're putting 90 million tons of global warming pollution into the atmosphere every 24 hours. And 20% of what we put up today will still be there 20,000 years from now. So when you hear the positive and favorable calculations, and they are positive and favorable, that the planting of trees and the saving of trees will store carbon for 100 years. Well, every 5 days, we put up 90 million tons that will still be there 20,000 years from now. What right do we have in our present generation to say to all succeeding generations for many millennia to come, we just couldn't get our heads straight on this? It was unprecedented. We thought it was improbable. It was tough. It was politically difficult. We just didn't face up to it. When we do start getting serious about it, we'll look at the causes of global warming, and I'm not going to go through these, but they are multiple. Destruction of forests is one of them. Burning of coal and burning of oil is the worst. But these others are factory farming, industrial agriculture, etc. And we in the United States are the largest emitter. And this is from Purdue University, a visualization of where our CO2 is produced each day. Now, part of it's in the transportation sector, but just these are the 20 largest consumers of gasoline in the world, 20 of the 21, and here we are. We're told that the offshore fields are our salvation, but it's a tiny sliver in the best case, and it didn't work out too well in the Gulf. Also last year, it was an important year, as I have said. And meanwhile, the renewable energy industries are waiting to be developed. We in the United States, in terms of our public policy, have dropped the ball. China has not. China is now the largest producer of solar and wind, and their new 5-year plan, which comes out next month, is, according to the drafts, absolutely staggering. And by the way, they include CO2 reductions in the list of criteria by which every official of the government and the Communist Party is judged for promotion or not, with a cap-and-trade, intensity-based cap-and-trade system, a price on carbon. There are multiple ways to do it. Environmental taxes. They are very serious. I was there in January, meeting with the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Heard from multiple people about how factories that went over their quota in December, the government pulled the plug, shut them down. Shut them down. They are serious. Now, they're still building a new coal plant every 9 days or so, but they are preparing to dominate these industries. We still have the ability. India is coming on strong. Their new renewable energy plan is stunning. This is, some of you know about this young man, William Mkwambe in Malawi, who had to drop out of school because his parents couldn't pay the tuition anymore. He found a popular science magazine in the library, and he built his own windmill and provided electricity for his family, and then built 20 more to provide the entire village with electricity. Honest to goodness working windmill out of parts from the junk heap and from businesses around his village. Solar energy. Enough solar energy, as some of you know, falls on the surface of the earth in 1 hour to provide 1 full year's worth of energy for the entire planet. And the efficiency with which it can be captured and converted into usable electricity is increasing significantly. Not as rapidly as Moore's Law, but 15% a year is pretty good. And it's coming down. And the installation worldwide has vastly exceeded the projections of only 5 years ago. It will be a dominant source of electricity. And again, the question is whether it will be made in China or whether a significant amount will be made here. This is the Vatican. Spain, the power tower. Enhanced geothermal. I won't spend a lot of time on this. It's going to take a couple more years to perfect, but this is a virtually limitless source of carbon-free baseload electricity. And accompanying these new renewable sources of electricity has to be a policy to recognize the significance of what's causing global warming in the economic system within which we make our decisions. If it's invisible, tasteless, odorless, and has no price tag, well, we're going to ignore it, no matter what we say in speeches and talks. And it's important not to ignore it, because if you look at the electricity that comes from these various sources, and then you look at the carbon that is required to produce 1 kilowatt hour, coal is the cheapest in the marketplace today, but if we put a price on carbon, we would make more intelligent decisions, and we would build smart grids and super grids. And there are already ambitious plans elsewhere to build intercontinental, high-capacity, low-loss transmission lines connecting the high solar areas and wind areas to heavy users of electricity. We can do this, but it requires a decision. It requires a fact-based decision. Electric vehicles are coming on strong. This one's made in Tennessee. The Chevy Volt is becoming very popular. This is my favorite, John. John and I invest in this particular car company, so full disclosure. Fast, high-speed trains, China, Spain, France. We just saw one canceled in the United States 2 days ago. And tree planting, because yes, the sequestration of carbon by capturing the emissions from coal plants is going to be extremely expensive. It works, but you have to take 1/3 of the electricity you're selling and use it to capture and sequester, so it's probably going to be limited. We have a great way to sequester carbon, and that's in forests. I was at a conference with our partner, Bill Joy. We were assigned an engineer, businessman was on the stage saying he had a great business plan to build this new technology that would actually use CO2 as a fuel and would sequester CO2. And Bill Joy texted me across the auditorium and said, what he's talking about is a tree. When you take that technology to scale, it's called a forest. So loving and protecting the forests is the beginning of this conversation today. Recognizing the critical role that forests play in helping us restore the balance that is so greatly needed is also a very important part of the conversation. China, by the way, I'm not trumpeting China, it's a mixed bag, but again, on the good side, for the last 4 years, they have planted 2.5 times more trees than the entire rest of the world put together. We have beautiful forests. We have to protect them. So if you are interested in looking at this as a global issue, or if you are primarily interested in connecting to this because of your love for the forests in Colorado and the American West, I want to close by asking you not just to take the great presentations that we've all heard here today as an intellectual exercise. It's not just interesting. It is a call to action. If you love these forests, if you think for a moment about the obligation we have to those who come after, this is a forest issue. It's a political issue. It's an economic issue. It's a national security issue. It's a jobs issue. But at bottom, it is a moral issue. It is a moral issue. Willing to stand up and do the right thing. When I was a boy, I had a teacher who said there's one choice in life that we face over and over again: the hard right versus the easy wrong. The hard right is to recognize the root of this problem, the connection between what's happening to our beloved forests and the 90 million tons of global warming pollution we're putting into the atmosphere every day. And the right decision is not just to change the light bulbs and the windows, but to change the laws and the policies and the treaties. And that means exercising your God-given rights as an American citizen to participate in the political process, regardless of what party or ideology. I agree with Mark Udall. This shouldn't be a conservative, liberal issue. To the extent it is, it's conservative to conserve this. It shouldn't be a Republican, Democratic issue, but one thing it is for sure, it is an issue for anyone who loves the forest. Thank you very much.